Me, a bro.
Yep.
He, a dude.
That's good stuff. All right. Let's try it. Okay. Welcome to the We Will Journey podcast. We're talking about faith and life as it happens, and not the glossy exterior we wish it was. What, man? What did I do wrong?
I think you said it's because all the things I was thinking about before. But we can edit that. You got that part good.
Oh.
You got it good. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay, just...
Now it's your turn.
Good?
Yeah.
Wait. We're going to get under the surface. I should have said all those things before. We should have waited down and dirty until after we read this part.
Okay.
Okay. Wait. We get under the surface and explore the down and dirty. Okay. Maybe we should. It doesn't have to be word for word, right?
No. I mean, I gave an interpretation.
Okay. All right. We get under the surface and explore the down and dirty of life as it pertains to our beliefs, our relationships, politics, and absolutely everything else.
Oh, there we go. That was good. All right.
When I'm dead, laying in my coffin, all my friends all gather round. They can say I'm just sleeping, good Lord, the sweet peace I have found.
3, 2, 1.
Well, good afternoon to you, Seth.
And good morning to you, my sir. And we
Wow.
actually did that, correct?
It's nice to get that. Yeah, it's nice to get that all straightened out ahead of time, and so our minds are clearly thinking about
Current day.
the current day and time of the other. So I have, and I haven't told you this yet, but I have just the most wonderful story to share this morning. Our family experienced a little bit of a miracle over the weekend.
Wow.
Yeah. We experienced a little bit of a miracle over the weekend. So let me take you back to it would have been February of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Right before COVID. We had lost we used to have two schnauzers. You probably remember them, Ari and Levi.
Mm-hmm.
And so Ari had died in the fall. And so we were dogless. We did not have a dog. Yeah.
Excuse you.
Yeah. But anyway, so but we did have a pet lizard named very similar to one of our dogs, Ariana. So
Oh.
She's a little leopard gecko.
Mm-hmm.
And just a cute little thing. She's about 6 inches long. She's not very big. But she was... we got her in December. We were just kind of looking. December of 2016.
Okay.
Okay? And... So anyways, have I told this story before about how I adopted Greta, or how we adopted
Yes.
Greta? Natalie didn't really want Greta. She didn't really want a dog again just yet. And anyway, so I went to the Humane Society, found Greta, and convinced my wife to let us at least go look at the dog, and she really like Greta, and she's just kind of, we all love Greta. She's the sweetest little dog. But anyways, so we bring Greta home, and Cade was the one who was kind of in charge of Ariana, the lizard. Mm-hmm. And he left the door to her terrarium open one day, as he would kind of commonly do, I guess. He was in charge, so I don't know if that's what he did on a regular basis or not. But at some point in time, the lizard escaped from the terrarium. And we kind of thought maybe Greta ate the lizard. Okay? So we thought that maybe she had been eaten. And she lived, Ariana, the lizard, lived on the second floor of our home. And so we looked all over, couldn't find her. And so let's fast forward a little bit. We never find the lizard. We assume she is dead. Okay? We assume the lizard either just died of starvation or was eaten by our dog. And so we kind of move on with our life, right? So let's fast forward to today, or to 2 days ago. I'm in the basement and I'm cleaning most of the day. Spending most of the day cleaning down in the basement, different rooms, and boys are down there helping me. We're throwing stuff away, and it's like 10 o'clock at night. And I just had a few little more projects that I wanted to kind of finish up. And I just go over to our deep freeze to grab a couple totes off of our deep freeze and put them somewhere else. And I look down by my foot, and they're like 4 inches away from the base of the deep freeze is Ariana. So, and I mean, she wasn't, she was thriving. She was not struggling at all. She was fat and happy, looking good. Had plenty of bugs to eat in the basement. Had a water source, and with the deep freeze underneath it by the compressor, there's also heat. Wow. Because in the winter it gets pretty darn cold.
Yeah,
in the
I was gonna
basement,
say there's some cold nights.
And so she found a warm place and a water source and bugs, and it was incredible. And she somehow had to get through or down, 2 flights of stairs from our second floor to the basement, which if you're only a 6-inch lizard, that could be, difficult.
Doesn't she have the sticky fingers?
No, she doesn't.
Wow.
She doesn't have sticky fingers, so she can't crawl on a wall or anything, like some lizards can.
That's amazing.
So she
cold-blooded animal.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So talk about a survival instinct. I mean, she was bred in captivity, lived in captivity. This is a lizard that has never had to fend for itself ever, and she did just fine.
Well, there's a lot of thoughts that come to my head from this story. It's a little bit of Jeff Goldblum, Jurassic Park, Life Will Find a Way, right? Everybody's saying like, oh, but these lizards, these cold-blooded animals can't survive escaping Jurassic Park. And he says, life will find a way. And, I bet she has a little lizard family somewhere, and you stole her away from them. They probably have an entire breed of new Nebraskan gecko / whatever local lizard is around, and it's kind of like what's going on in the Everglades. That's what happened, right? A lot of people or somehow their exotic reptiles escaped, and now they're ruling the ecosystem.
Yeah.
Maybe
Pythons
Ariana could be that for the Western Nebraska. She could start that trend.
Yeah. It would have been cool had there been like a we're pretty sure Ariana's a female, so it would have been cool if we would have had a male lizard in the basement.
That's what I'm saying. There's
And
lizards
then
somewhere around.
all of the sudden, there's just little lizards everywhere in our basement. How cool would that be?
Cool and a bit creepy though,
So,
right? If you go down there and there's just like dozens of
oh no, these are wonderful little
no,
lizards.
They look cute, right? When there's one.
They're so cute, yeah, and they don't get big, and they're not vicious. I would imagine it would be a problem. You don't want to step on one. That'd be terrible. But yeah. So no, they're just wonderful little pets.
The other thing that comes to mind is something very similar happened to me when I think I was like a teenager. I had a hamster. And basically the exact same thing happened. I think it disappeared for 6 months. And we found it living in our closet on the main floor. I lived on the second floor. And it was in the closet on the main floor. And it was, fat and happy. And I grabbed him and put him back in his cage. And it makes me think, the whole Jeff Foxworthy, like, you might be a redneck if... There's something there that either it's like you might be a redneck if your pet is able to survive in your house for 6 months, or like you might have too much space. It could be connected to our last episode. Like you might have just too much space if there can be a animal living in your house for 6 months and you have no idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what it made me think. Like looking back, my parents also have like kind of a big 2-story country home.
Yeah.
And it's pretty interesting, right? If an animal can survive that long in your house, and you have no idea.
Yeah.
And even more amazing that you found her.
Yeah. It is amazing that we found her, and it was just kind of like a little thing that happened over this last weekend that just, added a lot of joy to our life and weekend. It was just an exciting thing, and so it seems crazy that a little 6-inch lizard can bring a lot of joy to your family, but I think it just kind of goes back to, and we've talked about creation before, and but all these little things that God has created, for our enjoyment, are just a lot of fun to watch and observe. Why do people watch birds? They dedicate like a ton of time just to watching birds and identifying birds. Well, it's because all these little creatures in and of themselves are just completely amazing. And they're beautiful and they're unique, and so it's just kind of one of those little things that you get to have in your house, hopefully in a terrarium in our case, maybe under our deep freeze. But yeah, but yeah. Anyway, so it's just kind of a neat little thing, and kind of a fun story. But
that is fun, and I mean, it's fun because she was alive and well.
Yeah.
And you know.
Yeah. And we never would have guessed that, that could have even been possible.
So now you so did he like duct tape down the lid now or something, or?
No, he just makes sure the door's closed. So he was just
super glue.
Didn't think it needed to be closed because she wasn't like a little lizard that crawled all over. She was a pretty laid back lizard.
She was playing the long game.
I guess she was picking her moment.
Smart lizard. Smart girl.
Mm-hmm.
Email. That's right, I said email. Seems like everybody's got one these days, even us. So if you want to get in contact with us or chat about the weather, you can shoot us an email at wewilljourney.connect@gmail.com. Look forward to hearing from you or reading from you. So I had an interesting conversation, or I guess maybe it wasn't so much a conversation. It was this a men's group we were meeting last night, and the guy had kind of a little bit of a input or a devotional or whatever, and he talked about the fact that as people, and he was talking about the context here, but it seems similar to probably a lot of contexts. And since we are a men's group, he was talking specifically to men in our lives. But he presented, this like what do you call it, like concept or not concept, but basically when you do something, there's always like different reasonings for it, or different motivation. And it's like different categories, like, okay, this is something that needs to be done and that's urgent. And then there's like something that's, I'm trying to translate it from German because that's how I was explaining it. And then it's like, it needs to be done, but it's not urgent. Does that make sense?
So you prioritize.
Yeah, there's like four basically like everything we do, there's like four different like categories. There's like things that are like need to be done and at the same time like are urgent. Like not only does it need to be done at some point, it needs to be done right now, right? Which is usually not how we want to be. That's not the situation you usually want to be in, where it's like this needs to be done right this second, but
well, it's like if your baby's diaper needs changed.
Exactly.
It's not like you can wait on that. It's like, well, it needs changed right now.
And then there's a step.
Guess that's what I'm.
Yeah, and then there's a step.
Guess that's what I'm doing.
There's a step of this needs to be done, but it's not like urgent. It doesn't necessarily even need to be done right now. Kind of thing like.
So the diaper is wet, but the baby has not pooped in the diaper.
That could be, yeah, or like
It's starting to get a little heavy, but it's not totally absorbed yet.
And it's yeah, or like a car needing oil change. It's like I need to change the oil in my car, but it doesn't need to be done right now. Or you wait until the oil is all gone. It's like, oh crap, this needs to be changed.
Well, hopefully that doesn't.
Exactly,
happen.
that's kind of.
Hopefully that doesn't.
That's kind of that.
Yeah.
The point, and then the other one is like, okay, this is urgent for me right now, but it's not important. That's another category. So you view it as being urgent, but actually it's not important. And then there's the category of it's not urgent.
Okay.
It's not urgent, nor is it important, but I'm doing it. So like you can. So he's basically saying like.
So there's.
You look up if you look at your day, or look at your week or whatever. Basically, everything you're gonna do is gonna fall into one of those four categories, right?
So there's urgent and important. Urgent, not important.
Important, not urgent.
And then not urgent, but important. Yes. And not urgent, but and not important.
Yeah. For example,
okay.
like watching, like Jimmy Fallon on YouTube. Not urgent, not important, but I'm doing it because I want to, right? Like that,
That's what I'm doing.
And he said, obviously you don't necessarily want to spend a lot of time doing that. And at the same time, you also don't want to spend a lot of time of the urgent and important, like, because that's with the car, changing the oil in the car. If you're waiting to the last minute until it is urgent, then it's kind of too long, too far, and you're gonna have more issues.
So where did he go with this?
So then it got into the topic of, as men, he had this statistic that 90%, and I don't know, this seems crazy to me, and maybe you can tell me what you think. 90% of time at work is spent with like not urgent, not important things. Like 10% is like not necessarily not urgent, not important. Basically, he said 10% of our work time is actually efficient, quality work, and 90% is us not really needing, or not really doing what was pertinent. That seems pretty outrageous to me, but that's what he said. That's a statistic he came with, and that was, I think, for around here in our context. I'm guessing our context. And so then,
yeah,
so he had that part as well, and then he just had in general. Okay, most of us as men, and people, I think you'd say people. We live our lives kind of, like his next point, we live our lives doing things and making decisions based on what and who is around us. And so if, my kids need to be picked up from school, then I'm going to go pick them up from school, I'm making that decision because they're relying on me, picking them up. Or if, my neighbor needs help changing the tire on his car, I'll go help him, because he asked me to. So then he said, which I know this is kind of a little all over the place, but that's kind of how he's presenting like all these things kind of in one talk. He said, an interesting thing to think about for us as again, I keep saying men because it was a men's group, but like for us as people is, what if all those things that we needed to do, so for example, if we think only 10% in this statistic, 10% of the time we spend at work is actually like quality, efficient work being done. And if we think most of our decision making and most of the things that we do, we're doing to either please or to help someone or to, because we have we need to provide or we need to do whatever, you're kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? You're kind of needing to do that for someone else. It's not necessarily because we're like deciding I'm waking up today and I'm going to do this and this and this. It's this needs to be done, so I'm going to do it. So he said a helpful thing that he's trying to do right now in his life is look at like his life and kind of look at the things that he does, the decisions he makes, and also contemplate, what if I didn't have a lot of these expectations? That's the word I was looking for. Expectations from others, expectations from work of, if we're saying 10% is actually quality work, say I have expectations to get this paper filled out and sent out before the day's done. So I'm going to make sure I do that because that's actually my expectation. So the rest of the time I'm just going to chill because I don't need to necessarily go above and beyond. You know what I mean? And so he's saying his main kind of thing he was getting at is we should, if we look at our lives, if we didn't have all these expectations, if we didn't have these things that we had to do for others, would we really do much of anything? Or would we only be reactive? That's another word, wordplay, kind of words he used, proactive, reactive. That's all basically reactive. All those things, if we're only getting 10%, basically, we're only getting 10% quality work done, that means we're probably mostly being reactive in our work time and not proactive. If we're living our lives basically just in a way that's getting the things done that need to be done, or getting the things done because of others' expectations. That's like proactive. Like you expect, Tyler expects me to take a shower, so I guess I'll take a shower, rather than me than being like, hey, I want to take a shower today no matter what, because it's going to make me feel good and I'm going to be refreshed and it's going to give me a good start to my day. I might just be taking a shower because of the expectations from others, and I don't actually care or want to take a shower.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think there's an aspect to that that just kind of goes back to how we are made. And we are made to be relational. Mm-hmm. And as Christians and just as humans, even though you may not go to the same source that you and I would go to, but our lives are better in relationship with other people. So the fact that a lot of our decision making would be motivated by other people makes a lot of sense to me, actually. I didn't know where you were going with that for sure, because if you purely looked at your life and said, this is urgent and important, what I'm doing right now, or maybe not as urgent but still important, and you kind of lived your life, but you didn't take into consideration relationships, that would be pretty harmful, potentially. Actually, definitely would be very harmful if you ignored the relational side of your life in that whole spectrum of 4 categories. And because just like that instance I was kind of joking around about the diaper, mm-hmm. Like, if now you just plug that, let's say you've got work, some sort of project that you're working on, and you view that as urgent and important, and your baby needs its diaper changed, and your wife is busy doing something, mm-hmm. and you're like, I'm doing urgent, important work, and I don't have time to change that diaper. You can obviously imagine just the effect that this will have relationally because of your choice. So, it's just kind of interesting to think about the context of that, how you apply it. But we're just created to be relational. I know I've talked about it before, but I think England hired a person for their country just to basically deal with loneliness and depression. So that's significant, that people are kind of isolating themselves more, and then they find themselves not happy, and falling into depression of some kind. We're just created to be in that relationship. And then, yes, when you are not happy, you're lonely, you're depressed, some of those things that you and I do because we have people in our lives, like take a shower or eat healthier or whatever, they stop doing all those things. That's part of loneliness and depression. You stop showering, you lose motivation to do some of these things that we normally do. But the reason we do probably a lot of these things is because we are relational, and we know that there are some expectations, and we want to be courteous of others and not have terrible body odor, For instance, it's not, I mean, we've got a story about when I landed at your place, and I was trying to sleep after. Do you remember that? I was trying to sleep.
You slept on the couch at the youth center? Or
Are you digging our theme music? Well, we dig it too. You can check out more Jane Gilman music at our website, janegilman.com. Or you can download some of her music to your playlist on iTunes. That's GILLMAN. No. Well, yes, I did, but I slept at your house or your apartment.
oh yeah.
And I had been traveling for quite some time. And Natalie had bought me some new deodorant for the trip. And it was the worst deodorant. It was terrible. And so I had reapplied this deodorant at some point in time to what was becoming some pretty bad body odor.
Uh-huh.
And the combination of my body odor and this deodorant was awful. I was literally having nightmares about how bad I smelled. I couldn't sleep, even though I was dead tired. I couldn't really sleep because I just kept having, like, this smell.
Wow.
So anyways, it was, I was being offensive to myself to the point I was having nightmares about it. But, yeah. But
that's kind of where my mind was going to last night while we were discussing that, and he was going through that. Is yeah, I think that's part of the reason. God says it's not good for man to be alone. There's also something healthy and good with having like kind of expectations, and it goes into a little bit of the love your neighbor as yourself, right? Like you were saying, like you do things not because like you necessarily would just do them if you lived by yourself on a desert island, but you do them because it's gonna bring joy, or it's gonna help, or it's gonna encourage, or it's gonna be the thing that's best for those around you.
Yeah.
But for me too, like the part that really also I think is good and important for me is to look at like how much I can tend to procrastinate, as far as like the other side of that, and being proactive rather than reactive or whatever. That's something that I want to that I am continually working on, because that also hindrances. I think there's two parts. One part, I'm usually someone who puts relationships above tasks, which in general I think is a positive for me and those around me. But there's also like a part of it where if you get your tasks done, then you have the time for the relationships as well. It's like rather than like you were saying, the scenario where you get to a point where you didn't change the oil in your truck, and so now it's really bad and it really needs to get changed before you take this trip. But at the same time, you want to go outside, change the oil in your truck. Your wife's working on something inside, and your baby's running around with a poopy diaper, and you're like, sorry, honey, I gotta go change the oil on the truck. Whereas, if you were proactive and got all the stuff taken care of with your truck, then you could be there to be a help to your wife in that situation.
Yeah. And there's like another side to this too, and I do need to run here in a little bit. I need to go open up the center for somebody, but just one other thought I had was that, just so for like life choices, for instance, for me, I'm more relational too. If I have relationship opportunities, I'll put off tasks so I can enjoy relationships. Well, I live in a house that needs somebody who is willing to put tasks first, because there's a lot of projects in this house that need done, and and I have the ability to do them. I just don't always prioritize those things, So therefore, we still have a lot of projects that need done, and I'm trying to do better with that. But if I would have been maybe a little more self-aware before we bought this house, I would have realized maybe we should buy something that doesn't need as many things fixed, because I tend to value relationships more than projects,
Yeah.
And I think there's a piece of that too, which as we kind of understand ourselves a little better, we know what to stay away from and what to dive into, and the same could be true of that person that really enjoys tasks and doesn't gravitate to the relational things as much, but maybe they're married and have a family. They may also want to stay away from a house like we own because maybe they'll spend all their time doing that instead of being with their family, and so there's a lot of ways to look at that, but I think, just to kind of, I think you and I have talked about it. We were created to be relational. Relationships really drive a lot in our lives, and God created us to be relational with Him too. And so the fact that we're relational with each other is just a reflection of how God wants to be with us too. He wants to be relational with us, and you and I believe that we are best, we are living our best life when we're in relationship with God. So, and that motivates some decisions that we make. I mean, our relationship to God also motivates us to take the spiritual shower, so to speak. And, like without that relationship, we aren't motivated to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, good. It's good stuff. I think that's probably why part of my motivation to keep renting. It's more complicated than that. We keep renting an apartment rather than trying to buy an apartment. Because I know everyone I know who buys something, it's a lot of thoughts, a lot of work you got to put into it.
Yeah.
And it's going to take away time from other stuff. It's not bad, but I think that's part of the reason maybe I'm motivated, even though everyone keeps telling me, why are you renting? You should buy something. I mean,
yeah.
I wonder if that plays into it for me.
Yeah, just knowing who we are. I think the older we get, the more mature we get, the life experiences, we make better informed decisions that aren't just, people tell you that, well, financially this makes more sense. Yeah, but for me, it doesn't make a lot of sense because there's more to life than just my finances. That's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also these other parts that I need to take into consideration. And I found that most people, when offering advice, are only looking at it from one angle. They're not really taking the whole situation into consideration. When they're like Seth or Tyler or even when I offer advice, I'm probably even offering it from only one angle. I'm not always taking the whole picture into consideration. And that's not good. I mean, we need to really work hard at considering everything that this could affect in our life. And some people are just naturally better at that than others. I tend to struggle with that.
Yeah, our advice usually comes from our own value system, our own if you value financial security at a high level, then that's probably what your advice is going to sound like. Or if you value family security, if you, I don't know, if you value having time for vacation, or if you value having delicious cheesecake in your fridge,
Yes, I do value that, by the way. My doctor told me that I should value that a little less. The other day when I went to see him, he had noticed I'd put on a little weight and thought it'd be good if I maybe dropped it. So, thank you, doctor. Thank you, doctor, for noticing.
Oh, thanks, Doc.
But with that, man, I do need to run. I need to help somebody open up our facility so they can have it's Memorial Day today.
Yeah.
And so we have Memorial Day celebrations going on.
That's awesome. That's one of those days that passes by
out of sight, out of mind in Austria.
But I did actually see it on the calendar that it was coming, and I promptly forgot. So I hope you enjoy your Memorial Day and your festivities and whatnot.
Well, it's also Avery's birthday today. And so we're focusing more on Avery's birthday. And he turns 12. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Tell him congratulations.
All right, brother. Thank you. Yeah, I will tell him that. So, thank you for saying that. And God bless you. And thanks for taking a little time out of your day to have this little conversation, which, as usual, we talked about a subject on the front end of this conversation before we recorded, and we never talked about it. We talked about something totally different. And I think it was better. So thank you. Thank you for bringing that. But
yeah, man. It's good to talk.
All right. Peace out, man.
Until next time. Hey, guys. It's Seth. Some of you might be wondering, I wish there was a way to follow these guys and what they're up to. Well, I don't know if you heard about a little thing called the internet. That's right. If you check us out at twitter.com/WeWillJourney1, you'll be able to keep updated on what we're up to and maybe some future interviews or projects we're working on. Catch yous later.
The mystery of oceans deep, the colors of the sky and trees, the endlessness of universe could never be explained. The closest look at molecules, the farthest sight at mountaintops, the thought of steps at strangest stars beyond the human mind. Monkey man and machine, just a little bit mommy. This is all I came here to see. Ain't that just a little bit mommy? Logic makes me burst out of gravity, which leaves me with no place to be. The deepest breath with stubborn hope, the truth inside the wildest dream. Believing in reality was written in the core. The sweetest kiss of lovers' lips, the penetrating view of hearts. The universe of being me was made in you, my life. Monkey man and machine, monkey man and machine. This is all I came here to see. Ain't that just a little bit mommy? This is all I came here to see. Ain't Ain't that just a little bit more me? Logic makes me burst out of gravity, which leaves me with no place to be. This is all I came here to see. Ain't that just a little bit more me? This is all I came here to see. Ain't that just a little bit more me? Logic makes me burst out of gravity. Logic makes me burst out of gravity. Logic makes me burst out of gravity, which leaves me with no place to be. The hiding and the seeking and the finding and the being and the taste and the size of each thing. The yearning and the glory and the theaters and the story and the substance of life is divine.